Everyone has their own unique views and needs when it comes to financial success. If you'd like to leave your financial woes behind and live a life of financial freedom, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Saving with Steve show, hosted by Steve Sexton. The show will help you with the ins and outs of money. We talk about financial issues that could be costing you thousands of dollars and keeping you up at night. We talk about money, tax reduction, saving more, spending less, 401ks, risk management, retirement, and everything under the sun that relates to you having a healthier, happy relationship with money. Now, here is your host of Saving with Steve, Steve Sexton, on UK Health Radio.
Well, welcome to the Saving with Steve show, where we talk about the ins and outs of money. Pretty much everything under the sun relates to you having a healthier, happy relationship with money. My name is Steve Sexton. I want to thank you for joining us. Hey, our listeners and viewers keep growing each and every week here in the United States as well as internationally. So we're really grateful to our affiliates at UK Health Radio, BBS Radio, and AM/FM 247. Last week, we had Alan Nevin. Alan Nevin's the Director of Economic and Research at the Exper Group. He's also the San Diego Associate of Realtors Chief Economist. He's educated us on what's happening economically, about rising inflation, increased gas prices, housing interest rates, what we can do and what will happen in the coming months. If you're worried about selling your house and having the prices go down or buying it and all that stuff, you really want to go check out that episode. If you'd like to see it or hear the episode, all you need to do is go to savingwithsteve.us and check out episode number 80. Now, this week, we've had a lot of viewers come in and say, hey, what's this retirement savers credit? So I'm going to go over that today. Life's changing for a lot of people because of COVID, big resignation. Companies are laying off people because they're worried about inflation. Unemployment is down to 3%, and we still have 11 million jobs to fill. There are more jobs available now. In fact, 60% of middle-income workers are looking at making a career change. Many older workers are going back to work because of inflation and cost of living and all that. A lot of us are in jobs we hate. Well, we have Helen Horyza here today to help us make a successful career change. Now, Helen is a career development expert, award-winning author, public speaker. She founded Career Coach Entrepreneurs Academy. It's a certificate program, inventor of the Elevation Career Assessment. She has a real gift for uncovering talent and directing it to achieve extraordinary results. So we can't wait to talk to Helen. She's going to be with us in just a moment. But first, hey, what's that retirement credit stuff? Well, Uncle Sam wants you to save for retirement, so much so that he's offering a tax credit for doing so. The Retirement Savings Credit, for short, is a tax credit worth up to $1,000, or if you're married, $2,000. Now, it's really designed for mid and low income taxpayers who contribute to a retirement account. You're eligible for savers credit if you are over 18 or older, not a full-time student, or not claimed as a dependent on anybody else's tax return. But that doesn't necessarily mean you get it. You must also make a retirement plan or an IRA contribution and fall under the maximum adjusted gross income caps the IRS has set. So, for example, in 2022, if you are married, joint filer, okay, and your adjusted gross income is under $68,000, hey, you qualify for this tax credit. If you had a household, it's $51,000. Or any other filer, it's $34,000 here in 2022. Now, as I said before, the tax credit was set is worth up to $1,000 for individuals, $2,000 for filing jointly. Keep in mind that a credit is not the same as a tax deduction. It's better. While a tax deduction just reduces the amount of your income that is subject to taxes, a tax credit reduces your actual tax bill dollar for dollar. So that means if your bill's $1,000 and you get a $1,000 tax credit, it's zero, okay? The value of the savers credit is calculated based off your contributions to a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, a 401k, simple IRA, or ABLE account, 403b, or a 457 plan. You may be eligible for up to 50% of your contribution, or 20 or 10% of your maximum contribution amount, depending upon your filing status, okay? Or adjusted income. To qualify for the savers credit, the contribution must be new money. In other words, rollovers for existing accounts like a 401k rollover don't count. So let's take a look at it like this. If you're married and filing jointly, If your adjusted gross income is below $41,000, okay, 50% of whatever you contribute will be subject to the tax saver credit up to $1,000. If your adjusted gross income's between 41 and 44,000, only 20% of your contributions will be eligible for the tax savers tax credit. And if your adjusted gross income is between 44 and 68,000, only 10% is subject to eligible for that tax savers credit. So let's understand that. So it's really important to understand these rules, because if you fit the guidelines, this could make a big difference to you. I already know some people right now that are eligible for this tax savers credit. And quite frankly, they're going to be in a position, because they're married, to actually get $2,000 tax credit. For them, that's an extra $2,000 that they're going to get back on their tax return. So what you want to do is you want to talk to your financial advisor, your CPA, and see how it makes sense for you. Now, you want to stick with us. We've got Helen Horyza who's going to help us with career changes. You don't want to miss this, because it's going to make a difference in your life. Stick with us. We're going to right back here on Saving with Steve.
More expert advice for having a happier relationship with money still to come on the Saving with Steve show on UK Health Radio. Welcome back to the show that is here to help you achieve your financial goals. It's the Saving with Steve show. Now here's your host, Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Saving with Steve show, where we talk about the ins and outs of money, pretty much everything in the sun that relates to you having a healthier, happier relationship with money. Now, I want to thank our affiliates, UK Health Radio, BBS Radio, AM/FM 247, for distributing our show around the United States as well as the world. Hey, we really appreciate you sharing it with your friends and your family, and we hope we give you information that makes a difference in your life. Now, if you'd like to go check us out, you can go to Spotify, Google Play, YouTube. All the episodes are up there. You can go to Saving with Steve Sexton on Facebook, and you can get all the behind the scenes stuff, watch the recordings live before they're edited, before any commercials are in there, the whole shot. Now, with that, again, we have Helen Horyza. She's a career development expert, award-winning author, and public speaker. Okay. She's the founder of Career Coach Entrepreneurs Academy. It's a certificate program, and she's the inventor of the Evaluations Career Assessment. You know what? She's got the gift to uncover talent and direct it to the extraordinary results. She holds master's and science degrees for career counseling at Cal State University in Sacramento, and professionally trained through Coaches Training International. Helen, just before we get really going into this, I always like to hear people's story, because it gives everybody context of where you're coming from. So could you just share your story? Why did you get into career counseling? Obviously, you help a lot of people, but why did you get into that?
Well, thanks for asking. I was a classic liberal arts student, so I knew a lot about writing and psychology, and I was interested in all that. So I was drawn to something in the psychology field, but then when I looked at what it took to get into that work, it seemed like it was way too long. And to keep a long story short, basically when I was 26, I was in a job I really hated. Maybe I should just become a counselor. Everybody said, finally, like it was some obvious thing that I should have seen. And I jumped in my Honda and I drove to a lower cost of living town called Sacramento, California, and enrolled in a counseling program. And there was one other layer, which is important. Even though I knew I wanted to be a counselor, there was another decision point in terms of what kind. And when I saw that I could become a career counselor, it was like, that's it. I want to help people in normal adjustments in ways that are practical and work with people that are motivated to make their life better.
That sounds really cool. I love it when people, I call it superpower, because sometimes people go through their whole life and they don't realize what their superpower is, and they're just grinding it out, being frustrated. Yeah. So I applaud you for that. And for everybody who's listening, if you're the person driving there going, God, I get out of this job, you want to find your superpower. If you do, you'll love every day that you work. It won't be hard. Probably work at it longer, and everybody will call you a geek about what you do, but that's the way it goes. So now I want to start with this one. Okay. Why do people stay in jobs they just hate?
Well, for very good reasons, actually. I'm not going to criticize or judge. You need to make a living. You're trying to pay your rent. You're trying to be a responsible adult. You're trying to prepare for your retirement, all the things that your show is about. So your career is the single most important wealth generation that you have in most cases for most average people. And so when you have a job and you don't necessarily want to risk changing jobs, you feel scary, you stay. The bad news and the good news. Bad news is that the pain of being in a job you hate will keep getting worse. And it's like a roller coaster. You're like, oh, it's not so bad. I can do this. I should be grateful. And then it gets worse and you start cycling back and forth. And the day comes or the moment comes when you think, I can't sacrifice my health. I'm not being a role model to my children or the people I care about. I need to do something different or I'm not going to be able to live my life to a level that I'm going to be proud of. And that's really why I wrote the book.
That's almost like having a friend that one day they're nice to you and the next day they give you a backhanded compliment. You just, after a while, it just builds up in a compound effect and you're like, okay, I'm done. That goes into my opening statement was 60% of middle income workers in the US are considering a career change. What's really driving that?
There are a complex web of reasons, but some really fine articles have been coming out recently trying to parse that out. Not just like, wow, what an existential crisis and we had too much time to think. That's true. But one of the main drivers is people who don't want to get back into a commute and don't want to give up the life balance that they've achieved by being home for a while. Another driver is that people go to work with an array of personal and professional issues. And being home, they often found they were more productive, or they look back at getting into a job that they feel they can improve their salary, they can negotiate because we've got a talent shortage right now. The list is long, Steve, of reasons why even entry-level workers are saying, oh, gee, there's a lot of options out here. I should really give some consideration to some other choices.
Following on that, then you feel this would probably be a good time to make a career change?
I do. I think it's a good time. I think you're in a buyer's market. I heard a really good story that I really enjoyed a couple of days ago. A teacher who just could not imagine another year of remote instruction. She just wasn't digging it anymore. And she went down the street and she saw the local bar and she used to be a bartender. And she walked in and said, are you hiring? And they said, we are hiring. And she is making more money than she was before as a teacher. She's helping people. She has her life balance. I'm not suggesting that you're going to be able to walk down the street and get a job, but I think it's a good time to get a certificate, to go to short-term training, to confront your supervisor or your boss or the company and say, this is what it would take for me to stay. Would you be interested in working with me?
So let's talk a little bit more about certificates. I did a news report here in the San Diego area for the local news, and we found that during the pandemic, many people started taking vocational classes, certificates, even looking at getting degrees, and were investing in their education to create leverage in order to negotiate with their current position or create skills so they can move on to the next position. Now, are you seeing the same thing? And if so, and on top of that, a second question is, what type of classes should somebody be taking to improve their skills? Because I think that's really important, because you don't want to take underwater basket weaving because that's not going to help anything.
Right. So start with the self-assessments. Start with a good career assessment that is going to look at your values, the skills you enjoy using, your temperament, and your interests. And when you buy my book, you get an assessment that does that for free. And that was very intentional because people need to understand, don't go after a certificate program or a short course or, Lordy, a master's degree. If you don't understand who you are and what you're talented to do, what gets you up in the morning, what you would really be good at, all of that. So I'm just going to throw a couple of ideas out just to wet your whistle. If you've ever thought about being a bookkeeper, CPAs and bookkeepers are desperate for help. The trades, almost every trade that you can imagine, and you can easily get into a short course or a certificate program for becoming a plumber, become an electrician, go into construction. It runs the gamut. If you're interested in proofreading, or if for some reason you're listening to me and you think, I want to do what you're doing, that counseling thing sounds really good, I run a certificate program. So I think you really need to follow who you are and what you're passionate about. Don't just go out there and check off that box because it can be time consuming and expensive.
Well, the other part of that is it talked about what do you value? I deal with a lot of people in preparation for retirement. I've had people show up in my office. They went on vacation and they showed up in my office an hour or two after they told their boss they're quitting and retiring. But it's because they really hated what they did and they were just kind of good at it, but it wasn't the thing that made them happy or it was okay to be there. And when we had discussions about what was your takeaway from doing this, and they say, you know what, if I really did something that I truly valued, that I felt was a priority, because I probably would still be working because I would be okay with spending more time there. I wouldn't mind the pressures of the job or trying to get things done. Is that something that you see with people, that they select a position not really based off their values and they're anxious, tired, and upset with it?
Like all things human, it's complicated. It might have met their needs when they were raising a family, and what really mattered was putting food on the table.
We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about what the steps somebody needs to make to create a successful career change. Your book, how does it help people improve the quality of their career transition? I'd just like to talk to you about some stories about some great career changes and things like that. So please stick with us. You might be going through this dilemma. You have this concern, this issue. You hate your job, whatever the situation is. Stick with us. We're going to be right back with more Helen.
More expert advice for having a happier relationship with money still to come on the Saving with Steve show on UK Health Radio.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. The station that makes you feel good.
Welcome back to the show that is here to help you achieve your financial goals. It's the Saving with Steve show. Now here's your host, Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio.
Hello, welcome back to the Saving with Steve show, where we talk about the ins and outs of money. Pretty much everything under the sun relates to you having a healthier, happier relationship with money. We're talking with Helen Horyza. We were talking about why people hate their job, how 60% of people, middle income workers in the U.S. are considering career changes. Why is that occurring? It's a good time to make a career change because the pay is up. People can do some things. We talked about educating yourself so you can put yourself in a position to increase your wages. But here's some of the big things. What are the steps that people need to take to make sure they have a successful career change?
Remember, I mentioned that you'll go through what I call the roller coaster. And what accompanies being uncomfortable with your career or contemplating a change is almost always a level of anxiety, because you're making a big change, a big possible transition, and there's a lot at stake. Or you might be angry, frustrated. You pick your emotion. But I have never seen anyone come to me to make a career change that wasn't in a state of emotion. And that's not a great place to be when you're trying to make really good choices. So the first step is to manage your emotional state and calm down and be aware of the fact that there is absolutely a process you can follow. This is not rocket science. You will be able to make this career change. Calm down. And then you begin what I call the journey, which is do a self-reflective look at your identity. Who am I and who do I want to become? That's a great question. And then after you've got that piece, you've got a vision, now we can start the assessment. I mean, of course, it doesn't have to take forever, but it usually takes a number of weeks or months. And then you do your research. And in this day and age, you can use resources like Google, Indeed, LinkedIn to identify if you've got like a quilt of interests. I'm interested in radio. I'm interested in helping people. I'm interested in finance. I'm interested in working from home. I'm interested in helping people. Where does that all come together? You'll be able to find that just by searching those keywords and putting the pieces together. Be aware that your career is a design problem. It's not a matching exercise. There's not a single thing. There's a combination of things that would make you happiest. That will bring you to what I call the moment of truth, where you will be begging me and everyone else in the world that this is going to work out. It takes guts. It takes courage, and you will step forth into something new and feel like you're really living up to your potential. Making a career change is a super self-esteem boosting thing to do.
I think that's really great, because there was times way back in my life where I was frustrated and I was like, I just got to get out of here, in that emotional state that one's in. Quite frankly, I probably made a bad decision at least once. But then when I realized that, hey, this is really about finding the perfect fit for me, then it became more of a logical process that I had to follow. And it's almost like an if-then type thing. I'm not a computer guy, but I mean, like, if this happens, then this happens, if this is a fit. And I was able to find a position at one place before I went on my own. And it was just like a glove. I mean, it was such a good fit. And I'm not boasting my own thing, but I've heard about this from others where I was hired in at one position. 6 months later, I was at another position. And this is a 100-year-old organization. I was 28 years old. My new peers were all in their 60s. It was such a good fit for me that I took the worst performing business unit and it became the best performing business unit inside of 6 months.
Nice.
And then they would put me from one bad business unit to the next, and I made them all work. And it was just a great thing. And that kind of ended when you talked about the shift of personnel, because the person that I ended up working for, that vice president, retired, and they brought in somebody else who had been there longer than I had, but she had her click. And all of a sudden I became the three-fingered stepchild, even though I still performed and everything. And it was my time to say, okay, I'm in the wrong place. It's time to move on. And I moved on, and I moved on to better pastures. But I got to say, it couldn't have been better suited for me in that environment and the way I operated, because I looked at the fit more than anything else. So I just got to say, I love what you said, because it makes a lot of sense. Now, how does your book help people improve the quality of their career transition?
I think the key is you need to know what to do. Where do I start? What is the structure of a successful transition? What first, second, third, fourth? So I lay that out very clearly with a model that is the structure for the book. And then I have story after story after story that kind of shows how you move through the structure. Not all of them have happy endings. Some of them are just validating that, yes, this is who I am and this is what I want. Other people who made dramatic changes. And then some people who maybe should have done something a little differently. So I think you need inspiration. You need a path to follow. You need an assessment, and you need good advice about do this, not that. I believe people can do this.
Okay, so while we're here, tell everybody the name of your book, where they can get it, because I know it has the free assessment, which is worth it in itself.
So the book is Elevate Your Career, Live a Life You're Truly Proud of. And, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or my website, helenhoryza.com. All those places would be a great place to get it.
Now, tell me some stories of great career changes. I'd love to hear about those, because everybody wants to hear a positive story. If they're thinking about this, hey, they want to be like somebody else who's done well.
One of my favorites is a gentleman who came to my office who was functioning as a paralegal, who had finished law school, and he was flunking the bar exam, I think 3 times. Now, in almost any society, a lawyer is a very prestigious thing to be. And it's very expensive and time consuming to get to the point where he had. And he's like, I don't think this is right for me, but I don't know that I can give this up. I can't quit now. And I said, well, what do you really enjoy?
That's awesome, because you would think the story would go like, well, he became a senior vice president at so-and-so, but that's not the case. In the reality, he's probably completely happy. And he knows how to make a lot of money at it, which is wonderful. That's the part where I love people find their superpower. Whatever it is, it is. And if that's you, you can do your own vital work, and it makes life worth living. Now, what final advice would you have for someone who is unhappy in their job and ready to make a change?
I'm going to take a little bit more out of that story. He had to have the courage to tell his wife he didn't want to be a lawyer, risk people judging him, going into an occupation that maybe didn't look as high status. So if you're making a change, or you're considering making a change, do it for yourself. And in the end, everyone else who cares about you and loves you will be happier. And be true to yourself.
I think that's wonderful. Everybody, this is Helen Horyza. Could you do us a favor and let everybody know how they can get a hold of you? Again, how they can get your book. We're coming to the end of our segment, and I'm just thankful that you're able to impart this information for everybody, because I know it's going to make a difference in their life.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Probably the easiest single place is Helen Horyza. I'm sorry, it's not easy to spell. HORYZA.com. That'll get you to my services and my book. So,
Helen, thank you so much. If you're okay with it, I'd like to have you back sometime in the future, because what you offer and the advice you give, I'll just say this, it can't be told enough.
Thanks.
So
I'd be happy to help.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being part of the Saving with Steve show. And I know it's all about the ins and outs of money, but making a career change is about the ins and outs of money. One of the biggest takeaways that I heard is make sure you do your vital work, find your superpower, And today's a great time for the job market to make a change. So thanks again, Helen. You have a great day. We'll see you.
Okay, you too, Steve. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. That was Helen Horyza. It was wonderful to have her here. The takeaways that I have from that are just special. Go to helenhoryza.com, get her information, get that book, get the assessment, the whole shot. We had a wonderful show with Helen Horyza. If you're looking to make a career change, you definitely want to check her out. So look, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Same date, same channel. Have a great week. Be safe, be healthy. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Saving with Steve show, hosted by Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio. To learn more about the show and how to become a guest or sponsor, visit savingwithsteve.us. That's savingwithsteve.us. Join us again next time as we continue to talk about everything under the sun that relates to you having a healthier, happier relationship with money. This has been the Saving with Steve show, hosted by Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio. Everyone has their own unique views and needs when it comes to financial success. If you'd like to leave your financial woes behind and live a life of financial freedom, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Saving with Steve show, hosted by Steve Sexton. The show will help you with the ins and outs of money. We talk about financial issues that could be costing you thousands of dollars and keeping you up at night. We talk about money, tax reduction, saving more, spending less, 401ks, risk management, retirement, and everything under the sun that relates to you having a healthier, happy relationship with money. Now, here is your host of Saving with Steve, Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio.
Hey, welcome to the Saving with Steve show, where we talk about the ins and outs of money. Pretty much everything under the sun relates to you having a healthier, happier relationship with money. My name is Steve Sexton. I want to thank you for joining us today. We have an extra special show. We're going to be talking about the economy today, but a couple things right up front here. The first thing that we want to talk about is this. According to the Better Business Bureau, the government scams are on the rise again. So you want to watch out for them. And basically what's going to happen is somebody's going to call you and say, I'm from the IRS. I'm from the Social Security. I'm from so-and-so. And if you don't pay this, we're going to put you in jail. We're going to stop your Social Security. We're going to do something else. I want to be very clear. None of those agencies reach out and call you, okay? That's the big factor. The other thing is, if they want you to pay them in gift cards or cryptocurrency, you know it's a scam. There's been hundreds of millions of dollars in people in 2021 and here in 2022. Watch out for the ones you love, because you never know what's going to happen. So keep educating everybody. Now, our listener and viewership keeps continuing to rise. We're very thankful for our affiliates, UK Health Radio, BBS Radio, MFM 247, and all the other affiliates that we work with. We keep growing our stuff. Now, if you missed last week, we had Steve Severate. He's from the Greenspan Company, Adjusters International, to help people catch up on what's going on with the wildfires as well as other disasters. Steve went through how homeowners can avoid the biggest pitfalls in filing claims because of property losses due to these disasters, what new insurance regulations mean for homeowners, what homeowners can do now just to best prepare themselves in dealing with insurance claims for the future. If you want to check out this episode, it's episode 80. That's right. We've been around for 80 episodes. Go to savingwithsteve.us and check out episode 80. Now, this week, we're going to be talking about, our viewers came at us again and said, hey, what are these things with immediate annuity? What's the ups? What's the downs? So we'll walk into that in just a moment. But today, we've had a wild ride when it comes to our economy. We got a war. We got a pandemic. We got supply chain issues, or that's what we think. And we're seeing rising interest rates. We have the Director of Economics and Market Research at Aspera. We have Alan Nevin here to walk us through what's been going on, what we can expect in the future, whether it be real estate, our food, the whole shot. Now, this very first segment, like I said, is about the pros and cons about immediate annuities. For most people, you don't have a pension from your company and you want to retire and you're looking for a steady stream of income, you might purchase an immediate annuity. This is an insurance plan that's usually created with a lump sum payment and is designed to pay you a guaranteed set amount of money for a period of time. For retirees who feel they could use additional funds to cover their ongoing expenses or concerned about outliving their savings, and an immediate annuity could be a good option. However, the amount you receive will be dependent on the various factors that are potential downsides to consider. Before signing any contract for an immediate annuity, you know what? You want to read the information that goes on there because it makes a big difference. What is an immediate annuity? You ask. You're basically set up an insurance plan. Is funded with an initial amount that makes payouts. You start by putting in money you have, which comes from your savings or 401k or IRA. After the deposit, the insurance company makes regular payments to you. This differs from other types of annuities called deferred annuities, where you put money invested in the insurance company, no immediate payout or benefits paid to you by the buyer. Rather, the money grows in a certain way for a future period for you, okay? When you purchase an immediate annuity, the insurer will look at factors such as your age, how long the payments will last to determine the amount of payments. From an income perspective, you can calculate your fixed expenses, use the amount to determine how much you'll need an income stream. Some annuity programs including rising income streams to keep pace with inflation. This could give you the comfort knowing that your cost of living will be covered into the future. When does an immediate annuity begin making payments? Well, you can start receiving payouts based off the timeline and details in your immediate annuity. Again, it's a contract. You can start taking money within a month of your job, or sometimes it's 12 months. You can ask to have payments made monthly, quarterly, or annually. You also select a period of payout, which consists of a certain number of years or for the rest of your life. Many people offer a lifetime annuity payment, meaning their payments will continue for as long as they live. The payout terms can be customized in numerous ways to fit individual needs. So sometimes people are looking for an extra stream of income for 7 or 8 years until they decide to take Social Security at the age of 70. You might buy an immediate annuity that's set for 8 years or something like that. Now, there's a few benefits that go along with an immediate annuity, and there's also some drawbacks. You need to know both of them before you move forward. Number one, let's talk benefits. When taking out an immediate annuity, you can ask for a guaranteed income stream for both you and another person, such as your spouse, regardless of how long you both live. An immediate annuity that covers 2 people, the income payments will usually be lower since the contract is covering 2 lives. The functions just like a pension. You'll be able to count on the money until you pay your bills, no matter what happens in the economy and the stock market. Now, this can provide you tremendous amount of safety from an income perspective, as well as a peace of mind that you live the lifestyle you'd like to in retirement. If you purchase an annuity with pre-tax savings, you'll be taxed only on the income that you withdraw annually from the immediate annuity. If the account grows and accumulates more than you take out during a year, you won't be taxed on the additional savings until you take out the money. This can be quite attractive for tax savings perspective. So what they're really saying is this: you're only getting taxed on the money you take out. And if you're not taking it out, you're not getting taxed. Not a bad situation. Couple of drawbacks, though. You need to know this. Once you deposit the money in the annuity plan, you generally don't have easy access to those funds. If you want to cancel the contract and take the money and put it in, there are some barriers. Surrendering a policy early will come with penalties. Next, it's very important to make sure you're going to look at the income that you're going to receive. Does it fit? Number 2, make sure there's something that goes off to your beneficiaries if that's important to you. If it's not important to you and you just care about the payment, hey, that's fine. But if it is important to you, you might be looking at another avenue. That's it for our first segment today. We're going to have to take a break, pay some bills. So stick with us. We're going to be right back with Alan Levin talking about the economy.
More expert advice for having a happier relationship with money still to come on the Saving with Steve show on UK Health Radio.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Welcome back to the show that is here to help you achieve your financial goals. It's the Saving with Steve show. Now here's your host, Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the Saving with Steve show, where we talk about the ins and outs of money. If you'd like to follow us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, we're all there. You just got to look for Saving with Steve Sexton, Saving with Steve Sexton. Or if you'd like to check out one of the episodes at savingwithsteve.us, just go ahead and take a look at them. Now, we've had a pretty wild ride when it comes to the economy over the last couple of years. We're seeing inflation, supply chain issues, real estate skyrocketing, interest rates going up, gas prices going up, and you know what? People are quite concerned. So this is the reason why we have Alan Nevin. He's the Director of Economics and Market Research at the Expera Group, and he's here to talk about the economy. So Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
I'm really glad you're here. I mean, you've been doing this for what, almost 50 years now?
Almost.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to age you. There's been a lot of things going on right now. We're seeing here in the first 6 months, and you could probably talk to this better than I can, we've seen interest rates increase. We've seen mortgage rates go up. We're seeing gas continuing to move up. A lot of inflationary issues, far more than what people are expecting. You see the Federal Reserve recently say, hey, we're not going to increase interest rates this month. We're going to hold off because we don't want to really send our economy into a recession. It's a very precarious situation, and it's just hoping to get your take on it. And I'd like to start with having you talk about the general overall economy, and then let's talk a little bit about real estate and go on from there. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So what's your thought about the economy here in the last 6 months or so?
Oh, just remarkably strong. I mean, the unemployment rate is actually lower than pre-COVID, and there is still this enormous appetite for hiring, and employers just can't find enough people to take the jobs. So the economy is in amazingly strong shape.
Okay. Now, I actually agree with that. I believe it is. One of the issues that I see is we're seeing this inflation keep going up. I mean, we've never had $7 gas.
The answer is that that is an artificial situation.
Okay.
However, I don't think it's going to go down anytime soon because of the Ukrainian situation, because we're going to be supplanting the fuel to Europe that was once coming from Russia is now going to come from us. So we're pretty well stuck.
So what you're saying is a lot of our reserves or oil production is going to go to Europe because that 10% of the world's oil was coming from Russia, and it's not really coming there from anymore.
Yeah, and I certainly am in favor of cutting them all. So anyhow, just assume that the price per barrel will be in the $100 range. Mm-hmm. We'd like to see it down to 30 or 40. Ain't going to happen anytime soon.
So until that war is essentially over, we're not likely to see our gas prices rescinded at all.
Yeah, and the reality is that doesn't seem to have had a negative effect on the on retail sales or on the rest of the economy.
What about wages? Are wages keeping up, or
the answer is we have a California perspective on things. We're not like the rest of the United States. But the reality is we're raising our wages here in California, but nowhere near as much as it should be. If you're earning $15 an hour in Arkansas, you're middle class, and here you're not able to live here almost.
I totally understand that.
Yeah, it's what we're finding, however, at the lower ends of the scale, we're seeing even the fast food places, a number of them are pushing $20 an hour and offering bonuses and just trying to keep up with it. They just can't get enough folks working there. And the only problem is that's really great for high school kids or college kids, but obviously you can't raise a family in San Diego on $20 an hour.
Oh, no, not at all. So let's switch gears and talk a little bit about the real estate market. What are you seeing in the real estate market?
Well, the interest rates are pretty much at a norm. In other words, 4 to 5%. The last few years was abnormality when you're seeing interest rates at 2.5%. That's not sustainable. What is the interest rate? What is the interest rate now is pretty much the norm for the U.S. And it seems to not be having a negative effect on sales. You may know I'm the economist for the San Diego Association of Realtors.
Yes, I do.
And I track the sales pretty closely, and I put out a monthly newsletter for them that incidentally is open to the public. If you go on sdar.com and just look under the economics section, you'll find my monthly newsletter. And what we're seeing, however, though, is the number of closings are going down just because there's not enough merchandise on the shelf. And it's a very difficult situation. And we're not still seeing the multitude of offers on individual properties, but we're still seeing enough so that the sales keep going on and the prices keep going up. And that, of course, is really also not sustainable. Yesterday, the Case-Shiller report came out and said that home prices here were up 29%. Well, that's really not true. I don't know how they get their numbers, but that's just not accurate. I'm waiting for this month's to come out in about 2 weeks. And we're probably at the 15 to 18% a year increase, which is what it has been the last couple of years. And I see that rate of increase is going to slowly go down because it's just not sustainable.
Hey, Alan, we're going to take a quick little break here because we got to pay some bills. So, hey, everybody, we got more Alan Nevin. You don't want to miss this. It's all about the economy. Stick with us. We're going to be right back with more Saving with Steve.
More expert advice for having a happier relationship with money still to come on the Saving with Steve show on UK Health Radio. Welcome back to the show that is here to help you achieve your financial goals. It's the Saving with Steve show. Now here's your host, Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the Saving with Steve show, where we talk about the ins and outs of money, pretty much everything under the sun that relates to you having a happier, healthy relationship with money. And I want a special shout out to our affiliates who are all about helping you solve problems, uplift your spirit, and help you live a life of personal and financial freedom. And they are UK Health Radio, BBS Radio, AM/FM 247, and all our other affiliates. If you'd like to check out the show, you can go to YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, and all the rest. And you can just download Saving with Steve. Now, we have Alan Nevin. This is really interesting with all the economy, the stuff that's going on right now. Alan, you know what? When we take a look at the second half of the year, we're moving up on June through December. What should people expect here from a real estate standpoint? Do you actually see, you talked about the growth not being sustainable? Is there a tipping point where we start saying, hey, things aren't going to sell in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 days. It's going to start selling in a month. What's the tipping point for that?
Well, I'm just seeing a situation here continuing the way it is now without the 20% gains in prices. I see that's rate of increase slowing down. But the reality is that the demand for housing in San Diego is amazingly strong. And it is because the jobs that we're getting here, for a large part, are very well paying. And in many cases, you'll have dual income households. And we're also seeing abnormally large down payments. So instead of what we traditionally had 10%, we see a rather large percentage of the buyers are putting down 30, 40% in cash. There's a normal amount of cash out, whether it's coming from parents who are funding their child's home, or there are a number of the major companies that are giving advances to allow their employees to buy homes. And then in addition to that, there are a lot of people in San Diego, and we're talking thousands, who can cash out their stock bonuses from Qualcomm and Illumina and all the other companies that have had bonanzas in terms of their stock, and that the employees are benefiting that. And that's, of course, all up and down the West Coast, all the way up through Seattle, where you see rank and file Amazon employees holding on to stock that they're very often worth more than $1 million.
Oh, yeah. I actually have dealt with a few of them.
Yeah.
Some of them have been holding on for a long time, and now they're selling, buying a house, and you know what? No debts, no nothing, and they're actually during my son's recruiting, one of the recruiters actually just said, "Yeah, I worked for 15 years for Amazon. Just got out. I don't have to work anymore, so I went to work for a company that I really want to work for and like everything about them." You know what? There's been some wonderful boons that have come from companies like Amazon, Google, and Luminous and others from their stock options.
Yeah, looking up and down the state, we're running close to 30% home sales all cash.
Wow.
And that it's a little lower here in San Diego, but in the rest of the state and up through the state of Washington, that is what you're seeing. So the world is awash in cash. Over the last few years, it's not only from their companies, but stock gains have gone up tremendously. And the result of that is that it allows the market to continue at its previous pace. The only flaw in the market, and let me talk about San Diego, is that we don't have any communities that appeal to the active senior. So when you have a substantial part of your housing inventory owned by people who are 55 plus, who would like to move down to a smaller house in an active adult community, we don't have any. And that is a slowing factor, because what we know is that 85% of seniors die in their own home. Mm-hmm. And they would like to move into an active senior community, which we have in most of California, but not in San Diego.
It's interesting that you say that, because in the last 2 years, I've probably had about 20, maybe 25 clients who have actually sold their homes in San Diego or in LA or Orange County.
It happens. If you're living in LA, you can move out to the desert and still buy reasonably priced housing. But here we're sort of stuck. And if you want to maintain a residency that's somewhere near your kids and grandchildren, moving to Tennessee may not be the right answer.
Nope. When we start looking at everyday goods, obviously price of gas affects all that stuff. When it comes to food, when it comes to clothing, you know what? Is that just going to go right along with gas prices as we're going to continue to see inflation with that? Is that going to subside? What do you see there?
Yeah, the answer is that oil sort of drives everything else, because almost everything has oil or a derivative of oil in it. And then you have the situation where you have container ships backed up for weeks out of LA and Long Beach. They just can't get the goods out, and it just drives up the price of the goods. And I don't see that changing anytime this year.
Now, okay, so one of the questions that I have is, in fact, our viewers have actually had, they're asking the question, hey, when can we see reasonable inflation back in the 3.5, 4 range? Do you have an estimate for something like that?
The answer is when oil starts going down, and that's not going to happen until after Ukraine.
Okay, so either Ukraine's going to fall or Russia's going to stop. So once that occurs, then we can start getting back to normal and see something within a 6 to 9 month period after that, or?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Great. Alan, you mentioned a real estate report that you give to the San Diego Real Estate Association. How can people go about getting that?
It's free. You just go on SDAR.com, and then you'll see a pop-up across the top, and you'll go over to where it says economic reports or newsletters, and my newsletter is there. It's there for the asking.
That's wonderful. Hey,
and it can be downloaded.
Well, no, actually, I actually get it and read it every month, so I appreciate that. I just want to make sure everybody else knows, because there's just boons of information there that could make a difference. Alan, I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing the economy with us and your knowledge. We're just lucky to have somebody with your background and experience just to share that, so everybody gets a better idea of what's really going on and what they can look forward to in the future here. So thanks again for joining us here on Saving with Steve. And you know what? Stay safe, stay healthy, and love to have you back again next time.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. I just want to let you know, Alan talked about those 11 million job openings. Next week, we're going to be talking to Helen Horyza. she's going to talk about making career change. And this might be an opportune time, especially since there's 11 million openings, and you might be able to find your dream job. Might have to do a couple of things. So look forward to seeing you next week. And hey, you guys have all a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy right here on Saving with Steve. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Saving with Steve show, hosted by Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio. To learn more about the show and how to become a guest or sponsor, visit savingwithsteve.us. That's savingwithsteve.us. Join us again next time as we continue to talk about everything under the sun that relates to you having a healthier, happier relationship with money. This has been the Saving with Steve show, hosted by Steve Sexton on UK Health Radio.